that? Makes sense? Don't think of it as holy, you know? Okay, saying a mantra sounds like holy, but basically even a mantra is just your mind doing it. So then now let's talk about the Vajrayana approach, okay? And like I said, it's all the stages of the path are incremental, like any course you do. It's gradual, you know? So given that attachment's the problem, day-to-day life essentially, even though the root of it is ego grasping, but attachment effectively is the way we suffer day to day. And primarily because we are born into a universe, into a world that's really an attachment playland. If you think about it, this body with the five senses, and then with attachment running the show, it craves satisfying the five senses, doesn't it? First and foremost, the grossest level. And then this world we live in is really made up of the five senses, made up of the five sense objects, isn't it? All the objects of this world, the things we look at, smell, taste, touch and see. I mean, whatever, those five ones. So that's the objects of the senses. So this is really the grossest, the subtlest level of suffering. Right at the beginning I mentioned, according to the Four Noble Truths, there's three levels of suffering. The first kind is like the suffering of suffering, in-your-face suffering. And the cause of that, if you look at the second Noble Truth, is harming others in the past. So to stop that, first and foremost, you do junior school, stop harming others. Now you get to the high school where you start to get to the root of the problem, which is the delusions in the mind that inform our body and speech, that cause them to do stupid things. So to stop that kind of suffering, you've got to control attachment. And that's the second kind of suffering, the suffering of change, as they call it, which is when all the stuff that we think is happiness actually just brings more suffering, because it's a honey-covered razor blade. So to stop that level of suffering, the more subtle one, you have to give up attachment. Now, the third one is sort of like, here we are, born in the body of a junkie, basically. Because attachment's a junkie. Attachment is addiction. Buddha says we're all junkies. It's just a question of degree. And I really sincerely mean that. We think attachment's normal, but only when it gets extreme, then you've got a problem. Buddha says we're all mentally ill. We've all got attachment. It's all a question of degree. So he's more dramatic in the way he sees the problem, you know. So basically, here we are, born in a body, which is the five senses, which crave satisfying. I mean, if we were deprived of the objects of our senses for not very long, we'd all go mad. So it's so spontaneous and natural for us. We take it for granted. But evolutionary-wise, karmically, it's the product of just attachment. We've created these five holes that demand feeding, you know. So what is the world? But basically the physical world is a world that's made of heroin. And you've got the five senses that crave heroin. So just to survive, you need to ingest heroin every day. Can you kind of see the analogy? That's what they call all-pervasive suffering. The deepest suffering of all. So to remove that one, to quit this kind of suffering altogether, you've got to remove the root delusion and realize emptiness, and cut the root and achieve your own liberation. Then you don't need to be reborn, which sounds so abstract to us, you know. You don't need to be reborn, who cares? But you quit suffering, the three kinds. So now you keep on going if you're on the bodhisattva path, because you now see that everybody else is suffering too and you can't bear it. So you continue to be reborn, you choose to be reborn. All the time, ever more powerfully, ever more bodies, ever more universes, because you're overwhelmed by the pain of others and you're so powerful and amazing with such wisdom now that nothing will ever stop you. You know it's your job. So now you enter into the most advanced level, because this way you can get enlightened very quickly. So the point about the quick path, I remember one time in Los Angeles somebody asked, what's the quickest way to get enlightened? People often hear about Tantra, it's the quick way to get enlightened. So they asked, what's the quickest way? Well, His Holiness, the Dalai Lama burst into tears. He said, I don't want to know about quick, fast. And he mentioned Miller Raper, one of these famous Tibetan meditators, up in the mountains. He said, up there naked, sitting on his ass, covered in calluses, never giving up, working on his mind to get bodhicitta, to get emptiness, so he can be a benefit to others. So the idea of quick is sort of like, if you're a mother, you would crawl from here, you'd swim from here to Athens to get the medicine for your baby. Nothing would stop you. No matter how long it takes, you would do whatever it takes. But clearly, if you can get a boat, you'd obviously take it, because it's quicker. You don't just, I'll only go and get medicine for my baby if I can go quickly. No, you'll go at any cost. But the quick one is, so the motivation here for all the great Vajrayana practitioners, and this is the method in Tibet, all the Tibetans necessarily are tantric practitioners, Vajrayana practitioners, but completely informed by compassion wisdom, and the first stages, which is called renunciation. All of this is, you can't, in other words, you can't go to postgraduate if you haven't got university. You can't have that if you haven't got high school. And you can't have that if you haven't got junior school. Which is why it's so important that spiritual practice is according to our own capability. And you can't just leap to the nicer ones because it looks more cute, you know. You've got to be ready to go there. So, if attachment is our main problem, effectively, in this, you know, walking sewer here, then the first level of practice, like we were talking, is to remove yourself from the objects and have some harness your crazy energy, control your body and speech, clearly. Then you've got some control over your body and speech, which are driven by attachment, and now you can see your mind more clearly, and you can get to high school, and now you start to use meditation to get deep into your mind, to unpack and unravel and deconstruct all the neuroses, distinguish them from the virtues, and start to argue with them, so that they become weaker and weaker until eventually you go beyond them. So by this point, attachment's under control. So now, though, you haven't even got maybe rid of it totally, but you're really together. You can now go to the compassion wing, and you can now even continue to benefit others. And compassion now overruns everything. Compassion is the thing that really drives you. So at the first level, you've got to back away from the chocolate cake. The second level, you've got more control over your attachment. You can even have the chocolate cake without being too berserk. The third level, compassion, you will happily eat chocolate cake for the sake of others, and your mind won't go berserk because compassion runs the show now. And then you can even go to postgraduate, where you can actually consciously utilize, actually consciously activate attachment and the other delusions, because you're now so sophisticated in your practice, and there's all the actual philosophy and psychology of Vajrayana, the tantric path, is all about understanding the subtler physical energies, subtler mental energies, and being able to energize these parts of our mind without, as Lama Yeshe puts it, without the mind going berserk. Because you realize emptiness, you're no longer fooled by all the drama, and there's something about this particular body, this is what all the great yogis in the Hindu and the Buddhist yogis have found, the construction of this body, the subtle physical energies, the kundalini energy, the channels, the winds, the drops, all this stuff, the components of this body can be utilized and transformed. In other words, they use the analogy they can use poison as medicine. So clearly the person who's qualified to utilize attachment as a subtle energy is the person who's completely no longer in the thrall of it, has given up all the dramas and drivers like maniacs. A highly realized being can utilize these energies. So therefore, many ways of talking about the Vajrayana, Tantrayana. But one way, psychologically, what it's about, one way. Okay, I'll tell you, Lama Yeshe, when I first met my teacher, Lama Yeshe, he was one of the first Tibetans to meet Westerners, like I mentioned, the late 60s, early 70s in Kathmandu, you know. And somehow he had this capacity, he learned English quite quickly, but kind of crazy English. He never learned proper grammar. I edit his teachings, it's one of my jobs, edit. And I read some of his earlier stuff, it's like this chaos. You can't kind of get any sense of anything. There's no structure, there's no grammar. But he had this, and everybody says this about him who knew him, he had this astonishing ability to choose the right words. He spoke kind of like a modern Western person, somehow. And when you hear Tibetans talk, you'll see when they're like medieval in their language and their structure, the way they think, their culture and everything. Which a good side of that was that they retained the incredible richness of their practices and their theories and their philosophies, you know. But Lama Yeshe had this real ability, and not every one of them has it. He somehow was able to communicate with Westerners from day one and speak in a kind of psychological way and get the essence of what worked for us, you know, which I found very moving. I think if I hadn't met him first, I wouldn't have got Buddhism at all, you know. So then, he from the very beginning could see that we Westerners, highly technical minded, very brilliant, very technical, very educated, very intelligent, but with masses of attachment, living in a world where you can get attachment needs really easily. This was not medieval Tibet, where even the simplest house was like, we'd be revolted by it, and we'd be so miserable, you know. I mean, talking ordinary terms. So we're living in this world, which interestingly, karmically, is the result of incredible virtue. Incredible generosity and morality are the main causes of why we have access to anything easily at all, Buddhist view would be. So it's the result of virtue, but coming along with it, we're born with these masses of attachment, masses of craving, masses of neediness, therefore masses of depression, masses of anger, because they're the response when attachment doesn't get what it wants. And also part of the point about attachment, and all these states of mind, the understanding of the more sophisticated level is, one level of attachment, this kind of energy of always wanting something more, is very creative. It can be very creative, you know. So it's a question then in the tantric approach is, you in the beginning approach, you just got to give it up. There's no wiggle room. You just control the body, control the speech, and eventually control the mind. And that classic image of a monk walking slowly, that's the manifestation of the success of giving up the crazy body, speech, and mind, subduing attachment. Then the Bodhisattva path, kind of like, you're more capable to be in the world, not be in the world, but not be, thrown by the world. Till eventually the Vajrayana, you actually want to be in the world, you need to be in the world, you need to have sense objects, because you're capable of transforming and using, So an example of the tantric approach to delusions, you could think of a person, I would think of like two amazing musicians. I think of Bach and I think of Charlie Parker. I don't know if you're jazz fans. Anybody know Charlie Parker?
Yeah.
Okay. He was anybody who knows him, he knew he was super intelligent, super genius at music. He had this capacity, hear sound, and he was able to embellish it to the most astonishingly brilliant degree. Well, so was Bach, wasn't he? But look at the difference. Charlie Parker's attachment at that level is used in a sophisticated way, mixed with intelligence. So it's kind of attachment energy, which is creative energy also. But if you mix it with intelligence and virtue, you end up with a person like Bach. He was like, he had 23 babies, he's like churning out music every day to keep his church going. He was writing this amazing, he was able, in other words, he had this genius ability, which is attachment energy, to be super creative. But you can deduce from his behaviour and who he was that he had incredible virtue. Whereas poor old Charlie Parker, when you read about his life, he also had attachment at the grosser level, the sensory, the one that just makes us like pigs, with respect to pigs, but causes immense suffering. He had phenomenal attachment to food, sex, drugs, alcohol, simultaneously. But he had this massive intelligence and this massive appetites. So he died exhausted at the age of 43, looking like he was 63, because he couldn't contain that level of his energy. You see what I'm saying? But he's able to utilise it at a more marvellous way. Are you communicating with the concept I'm talking here?
Yes.
You could say that's attachment energy. It's attachment energy, but if it's mixed with virtue and intelligence, you're a highly evolved, marvellous, virtuous, moral, creative, intelligent person. So if you've got an attachment at the animal level, well, you look at the poor old lion, there she is, thick as a post, can only follow her attachment, can only follow her aggression, no other method. She cannot access any other part of herself. So she just eats the buffaloes for breakfast every day. It's the best she knows, And look at us poor humans, when the attachment's really gross. Even when it's very creative, look at the music we create. I'm really not being fundamentalist here, please. It's all about, it's just kind of the grosser energy that just drives and increases craving and grasping and increases dissatisfaction. But you can see also, you can bring it to a higher level. And please hear me in the best way here. Am I sort of communicating here? Yeah. This is me talking, using the ideas that I've learned from this approach, So there's a way in our daily life, given that we're super, super intelligent and have masses of attachment objects with masses of attachment, Lama Yeshe from day one would help us try to comprehend the psychology of Tantra, which is this idea of what I've just said, but another one which is really crucial, and this gets to the kind of meditations we do, where we visualize ourselves now as a perfect Buddha. They talk about it as bringing the future result into the present. So this is super marvellous. The concept we all know very well, we call it positive thinking in the world. This is exactly what these techniques are. There's all these different manifestations of different qualities, psychological qualities, manifesting as a male, a female, one called Tara, she represents power and success. Another one called Vajrayogini, she's the purified energy of desire. Another one called Yamantaka, who's this wrathful, purified aspect of anger. Another one called Chenrezig, who's the aspect of compassion. All the qualities we want to cultivate, as well as all the delusions we want to purify, these different Buddhas manifest in different shapes and forms that represent those qualities. And so by identifying with those and imagining becoming that one is a powerful, powerful method for purifying the mind and attaining those goals. Can you hear the concept? So that very much, Lama Yeshe, you can see from day one, we all need this. So there are all these hippies, all this self-pity and pathetic and low self-esteem and misery and blah, blah, blah. He constantly was trying to lift us up, He'd have parties and, and trying to make us happy all the time, because we're so depressed and I'm so bad, I'm so miserable, I'm so attached. So our two lamas are kind of interesting. In the beginning, Lama Zopa, he'd give all these long, intensive teachings. And by the end, when he'd finish, you want to go kill yourself. All about the lower realms and suffering and delusions. So Lama Yeshe would come along and kind of perk us up and talk about, how you're really innately a deity, you're pure in your nature, and identify with goodness and clarity and have self-respect and this kind of thing. We need both. We need all of it. And this, in fact, is the whole approach in the tantric approach, but based upon incredible compassion, incredible morality, incredible virtue, incredible clarity, and incredible discipline, you know. It's not some wild, which is a cliche, disgusting views in the world about what tantra means. I don't even want to talk about them, they're so gross, you know. It's an incredibly sophisticated understanding of the human mind, you know, and marvellous techniques that enable us very quickly to develop our innate potential. Are we communicating here? I thought I saw a hand somewhere. Was there a question somewhere? No.
It was me.
Yes, darling, that's right.
It's interesting, the Bach and Charlie Parker example. I have one friend who's a very serious musician who I invited to come today. And he studied a long time, so his practice is integrated with his music making. And he would say that Bach is, his soul has come back many times to be able to do such a thing.
Okay, so then, what's the point?
And
I missed the point.
I'm curious, because I thought about this in the days that we've come to be here. Why you just wouldn't go and become a monk directly? Who? I mean, if you come and your mind is open to these teachings, why you wouldn't just leave your...
Well, some people do, honey. That's the point. Everyone's got a different path. Some people that I know, it's exactly what happened to me. As soon as I met these lamas, I thought, oh, that's the monk I want to be. That's the nun I want to be. I want to be a monk or a nun all my life, or a priest, you know. So that's the karma I had. As soon as I met them, I was ready to go. You know, I'd given up sex, given up drugs, given up alcohol. It was easy. Next step, oh yeah, there it is. Bye. Each person's different. Some people go back and get their husband and their 7 children. It's according to what you've got, each person. Each of us is different, you know. Each of us is a different place. It doesn't mean it's less or more. It's up to what we want and what we need in our own path where we're at, you know. So for me, all the pieces came together when I met these lamas. It was like, oh, that's where I've been heading all my life, you know. Didn't realise until I bumped into them. Do you understand? So that's each person different. Many people, it's exactly like that. But each person, their mind, they've got to know. Many of my friends also go off to meditate immediately. One of my friends, Rene, a Swiss monk, within meeting them, becoming a monk, off to the mountains already. He was ready to go. He'd obviously done some work in his mind in the past, because I couldn't go off to the mountains. I've got to do some more work before I'm ready for the mountains. Next life, maybe. Each one's different.
Can I ask something?
Yeah, go.
According to these teachings, okay, on the individual level, we know what is the objective. You know, awakening.
That's right.
And escape from samsara.
Yes, exactly.
Is it visualized or see sometime in the future, sometime, somewhere, that we as human species will one moment altogether be at this stage or not?
I see. I don't think it's so neat as that. No, absolutely not. I don't think so. Not possible. Because everybody, look at the human earth now. You know, look at the spectrum of types of humans, all the way from the grossest, most delusional, demented suffering to the most advanced and marvellous.
And they have passed 2005 years of when
and also the Buddhist teachings would say, this is only the sixth of the 1,000 Buddhas of this time. Now, first of all, this world history, you only can see one, so they're talking about earlier, and it's 1,000 of this time, so assuming previous times and future times. Buddha's view of it is much bigger than just this. So, you know, I don't think it's that simple.
So why is it all happening? What is the reason that we're all suffering, that we're all in eternal samsara?
The answer is disappointing, because you've done it before. Okay, why are there weeds in your garden? The most simple reason why there are weeds in your garden.
Because they were there before.
No, well, the weeds are in your garden because you didn't pull them out. But they're also there most fundamentally because there's a seed there from a previous weed. So as long as they're there, that means they've come from previous weeds, which means they've come from before. So if we wake up in this life with a tendency to be angry, jealous, depressed, and want to kill, we can deduce we've done it before. So whatever it is in us, we can see it's a habit, that's all. So we're like this now. The world is this way. We are this way because we haven't cleaned it up.
Why are we this way then?
Because we've done it before. Mm-hmm. You want a first moment. That's right, precisely. You can't find one. It's very disappointing. You can't find a first moment. We want the first moment. When did it begin is what you're saying. That's what the why means.
Well, the reason is because we keep planting seeds.
That's right. It's as simple as that. And so after a while it makes sense. But the assumption deep in our mind, I think the Buddhist view would say, because we have this ego grasping, which makes up lots of crazy stories, and one of them is that we want a beginning. Because we're not used to the idea of cause and effect, even though intellectually we know it, then we seem to, everybody does the same. It's fascinating. Everybody asks the same question. Effectively, why is it this way? Why? When did it begin? You didn't say those words, but it means that. But you can't have a first moment. This is why Buddha doesn't assert a creator. This is why he says you can't, and the Dalai Lama said one time, Big Bang? No problem. Just not the first Big Bang. Because if you go back even 2 trillion years of your consciousness, you have to find, even if you go back yesterday, you know it came from the day before, don't you? You get back to conception, the Buddhist view has to deduce that your consciousness came from a moment of itself before that, not from mummy and daddy. So you've got to keep saying, well, maybe it began the moment before. But if it did, which means it came out of nothing, that means it had no cause. You can't find anything in the universe that didn't have a previous cause, in the most literal sense. It's like the chicken and the egg business, which sounds a puzzle to us. But the Buddha would say, we deduce that the consciousness and matter, consciousnesses and matter, are necessarily beginningless. It seems so bizarre, even as I say it. Emotionally, we think it's absurd.
Why?
Why what?
Why are we created like that, though?
Okay, look at this. Stop right there.
it.
Stop right there. Look at that question. Why are we created like that?
Yeah.
Okay, it's okay. We do it automatically.
Yeah.
But you're still assuming you want to know why we were the first moment. And it's sort of easy, but we've got to think about it. You're wanting to know when it began. Huh?
It just seems so depressing that we're
Okay, that's a different discussion. That's a different discussion. So the learning is, even if you don't know botany, you don't know what causes weeds, the recognition, you know what, I'm sick of these weeds. Instead of, oh my God, it's beginningless weeds, which gets us depressed, think, what can I do now? That's the point that gives confidence. What can I do now? Change it. I understand your point exactly. So true. Yes.
It's kind of a weird personal wondering, and we put it in a question. When you were speaking about your first teacher, I was thinking to myself that, my English is not perfect. I'm not always understanding everything that you're saying, though I do have a very strange dreams in the last few days. Now, my question is whether...
Do you?
Yes. Now, my question is, do I have my dream because of me understanding your speaking English, or because I'm present in your present speaking some language?
I'm a bit confused by that. I don't know.
Yes, me too.
So what you mean? What kind of dreams? Do you mean interesting insights in your mind?
Yes.
Insights about
Yes,
things?
yes.
Well, sweetheart, all this means is, the Buddhist view would be that you've done this stuff before, you've heard it before, it's been sitting there quiet in your mind, and coming along here and listening to me has been activating it. Because it's all buried in your mind, the seeds are in there, you know. So, take it where you have to go. Okay.
There's more questions.
Where? Yes.
Oh, just off what he said, so is this what you mean about dreams in general? This is why we have dreams and what we dream? Is it because we've done it before? Or
No. Dreams, I described the death process, remember?
Yes.
Gross consciousness and then subtle.
Yes.
Dreams is your subtle consciousness.
Okay.
So it's necessarily the level of your consciousness that doesn't depend upon the gross body, that sort of is weird and strange, really often, but many people can have very coherent dreams, and many times in dreams, because the memories of things we've done they're all in our mind, and we can't access them at a gross level, but in dreams we can. So when we get really advanced, we can access our subtle mind all the time and have clairvoyance, even when we're living in the gross level. So this is our subtle mind. That's why people have out-of-body experiences. They leave their bodies. I remember one guy, a Brazilian who lived in Australia, came to one course in India I was giving, and he'd come to class exhausted every morning because he'd just travel around the world during the night, you know. And this fits completely with the Buddhist view. Obviously he'd been a meditator in a past life, but he had this weird experience to be able to leave his body in astral travel, as people say. And he talked about visiting his girlfriend who was living in London, and I completely believed him, because this is what the mind can do, the subtle mind, when we're more advanced. The great yogis can do incredible things with their subtle mind. So dreams and lots of stuff comes up, you know.
Yeah.
Memories, visions of future things, clairvoyant experiences, and all the stuff that's kind of weird and wonderful we can't make sense of. It's all the jumbled imprints in our mind that pop up as kind of... So it's good to learn from what's in our dreams. It's very helpful.
Yeah, I've always had, I've always dreamed a lot, and I've always been very fascinated with my dreams, but I've never known what to do with them or what.
I understand.
I want to learn more about it. I want to understand it if it's even possible.
I understand. Well,
Yeah.
it certainly is. I mean, in the more advanced states, in Vajrayana, there's very detailed descriptions and practices of using, yogis can use their dreams to develop and things, you know, it's advanced. But just in the Buddhist, you know that it's just subtle consciousness, and you're sort of accessing some of the memories that are there, that's all, that you've stored. Because eventually, this is the point that he's making. When you finally achieve the ultimate goal of removing all the pollution from your mind, it's like all the memories of everything you've ever done, said and thought, and including the thoughts of all others, are visible to you. It sounds demented to say it, because this is what happens with mind. Mind, everything it sees and does and leaves it doesn't just go astray, it's impressed with it. It's like we're taking photos every second. So all that's there, buried. And as you get wiser and wiser and remove all the delusions, you get more powerful in your ability to see the past and future, and to see your own mind and other people's minds. It's there available for us to cognize. It's not cosmic, you know, practical. And you need that because you want to help others. I'll give the example of Harry, another story about Harry. My friend Harry, the mountain, you know, that one. He was helping, I did tell you this, I think, before. Didn't I? Helping a monk who was very sick.
No.
No.
We did the trail where he was.
Almost fell off the hill and...
Oh, that was that Harry, but there's another story.
Yeah.
So I'll tell you this other story. Okay, Harry was I'm sure I told you this, but I tell things all the time and I forget where I was when I said it. So then Harry was at our monastery in Kopan, Kathmandu, and this monk was there who was quite sick. He found a doctor to help him. And he happened to mention it to Lama Yeshe, because Lama Yeshe was also Harry's teacher. And basically Lama just said to Harry, just let it be, Harry. Back off, leave it alone. He didn't explain why, but Harry trusted Lama's wisdom, so he didn't do anything. So the guy got sicker and sicker, went up to the mountains with his family, and then he died. Well, on the face of it, it sounds like Lama Yeshe was very cruel, just not helping him, well, not with the doctor, you know. But then Lama Lunda, the abbot of the monastery, said to Harry, what's going on is Lama, because of Lama's clairvoyance, his clear ability to see the monk's mind, to clearly know the karma this monk created that caused this suffering. Lama said that if he had gotten better, his life would have been fine. But next life, because he wouldn't have finished that karma, next life terrible. But finishing the karma now, going to the mountains, dying, and he died very well, he died very peacefully, he purified all that karma, next life blissful. Now, I mean, who has that kind of wisdom? We do not, you know. So they always say compassion's not enough, you've got to have wisdom. So the real wisdom to help others comes in the Buddhist view when we have clairvoyance. Literally, you have the capacity to diagnose what a person's problem is, and you have the wisdom to know exactly how to help them. Which is why we have to use whatever wisdom we've got now. But that's why if the compassion we have now, when it's mixed with attachment, it's a disaster. And when you've got lots of attachment, let's say you're craving and grasping food or sex, it's fairly easy to see attachment. But when your attachment is to be a good person, help others, attachment to helping others, not compassion, then it messes up your compassion. It looks like kindness, but because you haven't got wisdom, you make a mess half the time. You butt in where you're not needed. Are you seeing what I'm saying? Wisdom is so important, and wisdom literally, as you progress in it, is on the basis of lessening delusions, you grow the capacity to see things clearly, eventually the past and the future. This is just, and we've had this, Buddha says, countless times, you know. We just haven't realised emptiness. So these meditations, I thought I might just do one short one, just to give you a taste.
So, actually, we intellectually, we understand, comprehend the truth of all these teachings. Then how we start implementing and start experiencing through meditation, right?
Start control, first level, junior school. Junior school.
We have to really
Junior school.
start putting ourselves into meditation.
Junior school. No, sweetheart, junior school.
Stop killing, okay, yeah.
No, not just okay, don't say it lightly. It's profound. Stop, that means you commit yourself to being a Buddhist, if you're serious, you take refuge, and then you would take the 5 lay vows.
Okay.
And then you would do purification every day. That, don't just say not killing, but that is your first level of practice. Without that, meditating is useless. That's your basis for a typical Buddhist approach.
No, if you are not want to become Buddhist, but still you want to end suffering, or you can do it only if you're a Buddhist, the end of suffering.
That's not what I'm saying.
Yes, I'm saying if you don't start from taking refuge and become a Buddhist.
Well, then you take refuge in these ideas. I don't care, call it Buddhism. You know, you rely upon these views.
Exactly. How
You
to
rely.
put them in practice.
That's
then.
what I'm just telling you. I'm telling you, sweetheart. I'm telling you what to do. Decide to live a moral life. Decide to not shove in 14 pieces of cake. Decide not to jump on every girl you see. Decide not to lie, not to steal, not to say bad words, not to badmouth people behind their backs, not to criticise the politicians. Work, control your body and your speech. Every day, make a decision. Do some. Then, on the basis of this, and then you purify every day. It's not Buddhist. And then, on the basis of this, you calm your body and speech down. So now you can go to high school and start to meditate. Yes. So don't just gloss over the first one. Is what I'm getting at. You see what I'm saying? Because if we are berserk in our behaviour, and I don't mean jumping on every girl we see, I'm even meaning our speech. I haven't talked about this much, but you listen to it. We mightn't go around killing too many things, but look at our speech, the harm we do to others. Bad-mouthing people behind their backs is our best activity, mostly the politicians. But you're at work, and you can't wait to come home to badmouth a colleague. You're with that sister, you can't wait to badmouth that sister. You're with that auntie, you can't wait to badmouth this one. We just can't help it. We're doing it all the time. So apart from the harm you're doing to others, look at how you're stirring up your own neuroses. Always talking about people's faults. We can't help it. It vomits out the mouth. You're stirring up your misery all the time. So controlling our body and speech sounds so boring, so simple, but it really is quite profound. You can hear me? I always use this example. So, I mean, I've got 7 siblings, or 7 of us, and naturally really close in age, really volatile, all like me, all speedy, except for my brother, one boy at the end of the girls. And when we were kids, all fighting and yelling and shouting, but loved each other. When we got older, all doing our own lives, come back at Christmas, and we'd all fight. That's what people do, is that families do it, don't they? You meet this one, you talk about that one. It's just normal. We were fairly harmonious. But over the last years, I'd say 20 or something, sort of between all of us, there's this unspoken agreement. We do not speak about each other behind our backs, except to praise. And we do not talk about things with each other that we don't agree with. So the conclusion, we are incredibly harmonious. There's the sweetest feeling between us when we're together. We talk to each other on the phones, we email. I wouldn't spend more than a week with my sisters. That would be too much expecting of them. But we have this real harmony and rejoicing between us. Can you sort of hear what I'm saying? And you look at the pain in families. People fight and all the delusion. Everybody will believe everything they're ever told. So it's been a really interesting thing to observe it, you know. We don't go to the negative. So we are super harmonious. We are so different, we'd be fighting all the time. They don't even like Buddhism, you know. So we never talk about it. I've never had a discussion about Buddhism in my 38 years of being a Buddhist with my sisters. Why would I? They don't ask me. They're not pretending I'm not a Buddhist. They're not pretending I'm not a Buddhist. They know what I do. They've been to my talks. They know that. But we don't go into discussions about it. They're all super intelligent. They're lovely people. They help people. They're good people. You know, we discuss politics. We discuss football. We discuss all this. But we don't discuss what I think. I don't want to discuss it. I wouldn't. Because they don't want to know. Don't you understand that? Okay. I mean, sometimes there's been some discussions about karma with some of my sisters. A little bit here and there. But some of them never. And often people think they know what you think. So when they say things, they assume they know what I think. I don't argue with them. Does that not make sense? This doesn't mean doesn't mean we're sort of hiding anything. It's just we leave the things alone that we don't all want to talk about. It's intelligent, you know? So you don't fight. I mean, this is just called respecting each other, you know? I really notice it. It's very amazing. So I think speech is incredible. We do it so casually. We don't notice the effect on ourselves. So we really, when we sit down to meditate, to even concentrate, if I was always worried about what the person said, he said, and she said, and this, that, and that, of course you can't meditate. But if you don't say those words, already you're calming your mind down. It's like a preparation to be able to meditate properly. You see what I'm saying? So junior school is control your body and speech, and then also purify every day. Then you begin to look at your mind. That's how you do. What you're doing already, you just keep doing. Yeah. Ellen.
Are there any mantras or prayers that you can do in this beginning stage?
Of course, so many, you know. There's so much stuff, it's overwhelming, you know, it's overwhelming. So, why don't I just do a little meditation here. I'll use one of the Buddhas and just do a little visualization, just to show you how they work really simply. And that includes a mantra. And anybody who wants You just have to email me and I'll send you something. I'll think of something for you. You said you want to. For sure. There's so much stuff. In fact, there's so much it's overwhelming sometimes, you know. So we're just going to do a little visualization. Take 20 minutes. Takes time, about 20 minutes. And you just listen, you imagine, just use your creativity. That's what visualization means, just using your creativity. You're thinking certain thoughts. So if you don't particularly want it, you don't have to do it. But if you hear it, and you like to do it, then just do it. Just follow my thoughts, okay? Follow my words. It's really simple. I'll give you the idea of this type of meditation. So just close your eyes. Get yourself settled in that position we discussed, you know. Your body upright. If you're cross-legged, try and be full lotus. If you can't do that, half lotus. If you can't do that, regular. If you can't do that, sit in a chair, you know. But back straight. Hands in the mudra of meditation. Shoulders relaxed, muscles relaxed, but bones nice and upright. And your head slightly tilted forward, chin tucked in. Eyes, your jaw relaxed. Tip of the tongue behind the top teeth. Lips apart, slightly. This is the ideal, you know. And then your eyes looking down beneath your eyelids, as if you're looking along your nose at the ground. Something like that, okay? Just settle into this position. Very unselfconscious. Your body doesn't meditate. It's your mind. It makes it conducive for your mind. So for like 1 minute first, just focus on the breath. Get the mind steady. 1 minute. Just pay all your attention to that sensation at the tip of your nose. And that's it. Just watch the breath go out. Watch the breath go in. Watch the breath go out. That's it. Simple, simple. Just for about a minute to steady the mind. Okay, so we just imagine in front of us the embodiment of all the perfect qualities and totally enlightened, infinite wisdom, infinite compassion, infinite power. And it's manifesting, just think this way, in this female form, kind of subtle light body. You see it in all the pictures and the statues, and she's green. Her name is Tara, which means the liberator. She's the liberator from the fears of samsara, they call her. And she represents a particular quality of enlightened mind, which is like this power, success, cutting through the obstacles, making things happen, action energy. Female energy is often depicted as kind of like cutting through, action energy, quick energy. So Tara represents this. She's radiant green. If you're not familiar, don't worry, but just imagine she's in front of you. Radiant green-like body. She's sitting in full lotus position. No, she's not. Her left leg is drawn in like ours if you're meditating, but then she's sitting on a multicolored lotus, imagine. And her right leg is sort of resting on another little lotus. She's in like this action pose, looking like she's about to hop up to help others. It's her job, you know, not meditative pose. So if you've seen these pictures in the past, it's called the Bodhisattva style, kind of Indian but more Tibetan style, a different way the pictures look, you know. But she's kind of green light body and she's wearing sort of silken rainbow kind of clothes but on the lower part of her body. But her upper part, basically she's got no clothes, very beautiful, beautiful breasts, divine looking, gorgeous, radiant, beautiful, in the aspect of 16 years old, they say. Totally radiant and blissful. And she's kind of decorated in that kind of aristocratic style or the royal style of jewellery, you know, her neck, her arms, her wrists, her head, like a tiara on her head, hair partially held up in a top knot, held up in... If you've seen the pictures, you'll know. If not, then don't worry. Just get a sense of this beautiful, blissful, radiant, enlightened being, manifesting as this gorgeous female form, representing action energy, but having all the qualities of enlightenment, of wisdom, of compassion. And her right hand is on her right knee, with her fingers up. It's like in the gesture or mudra of giving, like generosity, as if she's giving you, you know, giving you power, giving you realizations. So her right, imagine if you like, her thumb and her ring finger in her right hand, from her right knee, are holding the stem of a blue upala flower that blooms at her right ear. Just imagine. Or just feel the presence of this energy. We don't want to be too specific. Her left hand is at her heart and the fingers are pointing up. And this is in the mudra or gesture, they think of enlightenment. And the ring finger and the thumb holding the stem of another blue upala flower that blooms at her left ear. Her face, unbelievably beautiful, blissful, sweet mouth, incredibly compassionate, looking with enormous compassion at you. So if we have a spiritual teacher, a lama, a guru, we imagine that Tara is the manifestation of their mind, their consciousness, manifesting in this aspect for my benefit. Think of her as like a mirror image of your own potential. Like if you have a poster of, Federer on the wall, it reminds you of what you can become. He's showing you your potential. Think like this. Radiant Buddha Tara in front, manifesting the quality of power with wisdom and compassion, all there, showing us what we can become. Everything's made of light. So now you imagine from her brow, she very happily, compassionately sends radiant beams of white light, like laser beams, that enter your brow and instantly fill you completely. And you imagine first, it totally removes, instantly annihilates all the imprints of all the harm we've ever done to sentient beings since beginningless time with our bodies. Totally full of this radiant white light, instantly annihilating all the imprints of the harm we've done with our bodies. Full of this blissful white light. Also making our body feel light and radiant. Again, she sends this white light from her brow that instantly fills us through our brow, fills us completely, and this time with all the potential of a Buddha's body, which is the potential to only benefit others. A Buddha doesn't need a body, but it manifests in a Buddha's body, and any body, to benefit sentient beings. So imagine having a body that's impossible to harm, no possibility, full of the immense power and potential to only be of benefit to sentient beings with our bodies, our own potential. And of course, in the future, this means the ability to manifest in bodies throughout space to benefit others. Full of this marvelous potential, this white light, our own potential. And now very compassionately, kindly from her throat, chakra, throat, she sends radiant beams of red light that enter our throat, penetrate so powerfully, and instantly fill us. And this time what it does first is purify all the imprints of all the harm we've ever done since beginningless time, mostly as humans, with our speech. Every atom of negativity, gone, disappeared, annihilated by this blissful red light filling us. Again, Lama Tara so kindly sends from her throat radiant beams of this red light that penetrate our throat and fill us completely, this time with our potential, infinite, effortless potential, perfect, powerful, appropriate, useful, beneficial speech. In fact, the main gift of a Buddha is their speech, because that's the advice we need for us to become a Buddha also. The power of speech, they say. Imagine, full of this, such that any sound we utter effortlessly, even if it's just good morning, is necessarily of benefit to who hears it, to whoever who hears it. The dogs, the ants, the birds, the humans. Imagine this, the power to effortlessly benefit those around us, all the sentient beings, full of this marvellous potential, full of this blissful red light. And now from her heart chakra in the centre of her chest, Lavatara compassionately sends beams of blue light, blue like the sky, laser beams, penetrate our heart and fill us instantly. And this time, annihilating immediately all the imprints of all these neuroses, these delusions, these voices of ego, starting with ego grasping that clings to the neurotic self, then the attachment that wants to get the self's needs fulfilled, then the anger and fear and drama when they don't, and all the other rubbish. All the causes of all our suffering and the causes of why we harm others with our body and speech. All of this instantly annihilated, full of this blissful blue light. And now from her, again from her heart chakra, she sends these radiant beams of blue light that enter our heart and fill us instantly with all the realizations of our own liberation, first stage of our development. All the removing of the delusions and the achievement of our own liberation. Amazing, our own nirvana. Unbelievable. The mind full of bliss, full of clarity, full of wisdom, full of this marvellous potential, our own potential. Now, Lavatara sends all these three together. And what this does is remove even the subtlest imprints, even all what they call the obstacles to our omniscience, the obstacles to all these subtler delusions that we overcome by practicing the Bodhisattva path. And this manifests now as our own Buddhahood. Imagine full of these three together, the white to the brow, the red to the throat, the blue to the heart, removing even the subtlest imprints and then manifesting our own perfect Buddha nature. Omniscience, the wisdom that sees all things perfectly, infinite compassion and empathy with every sentient being, and infinite effortless power to do whatever needs to be done to benefit every sentient being for as long as time exists. This potential, my potential, imagine, full of this, these three coming together. Brow, throat, heart, white, red, blue. So now we imagine the lotus that Lama Tara is sitting on, the multicolored lotus, and the little lotus that her right leg is resting on, just dissolving up into her body. And then imagine she very happily comes and sits above our heads, facing the same way as us. Just imagine, above our crowns. And now very happily, you imagine her wanting to become oneness with us. She melts into green light and then dissolves through our crown and then merges with our energy, our body, speech and mind. You imagine Buddha's, Lama Tara's body, speech and mind merge completely with my body, speech and mind. So you feel full of this radiant, blissful, enlightened energy. And as we do this, then we imagine our own sense of limited, pathetic, poor, self-pity little me sitting here in this lump of bag of bones disappears, you know. And you imagine your being kind of filled with the energy of Tara just expands limitlessly, subtle, radiant, blissful, as vast as space, pervading space, radiant, blissful, perfect. So just kind of abide in this, no thoughts. Just vast, limitless, clear. This is who I am. So now I think this is already fine for me, I'm the Buddha, but what about sentient beings, you know? I've become a Buddha solely for their sake. So I must benefit, it's my job, you know. So imagine in front of us now, all living beings. All in the form of human beings, which is the form they can get enlightened in. And we divide them into these three categories. So imagine to the left in front of us, our beloveds, our friends, the objects of our attachment. Even just one or two you think of, and all the others are there. To the left in front of you, your beloveds, the objects of your attachment. Right in front of you, your enemies. Like I said, we mightn't use this word, but they're the object of your aversion, your irritation, your upset, your annoyance, your frustration. All the harmers in the world, the ones in front of you, the ones in your house, whatever, those ones in front of you, the objects of your aversion, your anger, right in front, eyeball to eyeball. And then to the right and everywhere else, above you, to the sides, above, below, and as far as you can see in the horizon. All the strangers, the rest of all the beings. Pervading space. Trillions and trillions, all these strangers. All these sentient beings. Absolutely identical to themselves and to us. Want to be happy, don't want to suffer. No question. Identical. They all possess Buddha nature, like me. So now that I'm a Buddha, what choice do I have, you know? All these countless lives of practice, wisdom, compassion, purification, what for? Driven by my wish to be of benefit to others. Now cut the discrimination between self and other, have wisdom, have bliss, infinite empathy, no choice, must benefit. It's my job. So now imagine, from our hearts, trillions and trillions of tiny little green taras, imagine, emanating out from the hearts, from our hearts, going all the directions, you know. First, entering into the hearts of the enemies, instantly taking away their pain, their delusions, their suffering, their torment. Imagine this. Be so happy. And then giving them everything they need, fulfilling all their needs, their happiness. And then turning them into their Buddha, their Tara. The friends the same. Do it, The friends, take away their pain. Tara is going into their little hearts, taking away their pain, their suffering. Relieving them of the pain of all their suffering. Imagine it. Giving them everything they need. And turning them into their Tara. And the strangers, to the right, above you, below you, behind you, as far as you can imagine, taking away their suffering, giving them everything they need and transforming them into their Tara. Imagine this. How amazing. All sentient beings. If I could, I would. All of them. Imagine it. And as we continue to visualize this, just for even for a minute, just imagine it, think it. We're also seeing the mantra of Tara, which is just the Sanskrit syllables, which are basically the manifestation of the sound manifestation of the same qualities of Tara. That's all they are, And you keep visualizing, and you can just listen to the sound of the mantra if you like, or you can join in as you wish, it doesn't matter. As we keep visualizing for about a minute. Om Tare Tu Tare Tu Re Soha. Om Tare Tu Tare Tu Re Swaha. 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 So just a bit longer to ourselves, if we can remember it, Om Tare Tu Tare Tu Re Swaha. Just saying a few times silently, imagining continuing the Buddhas going out, taking away the suffering, giving the happiness and making them the Buddha. I'll say it quietly a little bit and you listen to it, get used to it. Om Tare Tu Tare Tu Re Swaha. Om Tare Tu Tare. And you can say very fast when you get used to it, Om Tare Tu Tare Tu Re Swaha. Om Tare Tu Tare Tu Re Swaha. Om Tare Tu Tare Tu Re Swaha. So now to finish with imagining all these transformed Taras dissolving into green light and from all directions dissolving into us, enhancing even more marvellously our own Tara nature, our Buddha nature. And then relax. So that's just a really brief example of the type of meditations. Sometimes they're really elaborate, they go into all these Buddhas have This, okay. Okay. Anyway, I'll say some more in a minute. So it's an example. And you can see, like the first one, you kind of got your hands in your garbage, you know, it's kind of very depressing, all your delusions, your rubbish, your this and your that. But this one's going to be very uplifting, you know. It's basically what you're doing is identifying with your future potential as a method for becoming it. So just like wishful thinking. They even call these techniques bringing the future result into the present. And it's said to be super powerful, psychologically speaking. You know. It's positive thinking, isn't it? That's all it is. Do you understand? Does it make sense psychologically?
Yes.
Huh? No? Yes? Yes? Okay. So I think I've got a couple of these. There's one of the Buddha of compassion, similar idea, really the same visualization, just the form is different, that's all. They're just very simple versions of it. I think I've got a couple on audio file. If people want it, they could ask me, I can send you. But you can do this, once you get used to it, you can do it yourself. I've got them written as well. You get used to it and just visualize yourself, you know, if you want. So there's one kind of meditation, Melanie. And the mantra. The mantras are really easy to do, and they're all they are is Sanskrit words, okay? And they're sounds. And actually sounds, words are related to the wind energies, the prana, you know? And this is how you can, like many of these lamas, they become healers. They use their spit and their breath. The spit, not much in the West, people freak out. I've seen it in Tibet. When Antam Lama Zopa went to Tibet in '87, and a whole bunch of us went with him. Well, Tibetans really have incredible faith in this path, and they see lamas from 100 yards away, they'll come running, you know. So they're all mobbing Lama Zopa, begging to be healed with eyes and diseases, and they're all crying, wanting blessings and everything. He's spitting and blowing like crazy, you know. Do you understand? It's very wonderful. Because if you think about it, if your body and your mind, this is the fundamental view in Vajrayana, is, like I said before, all minds have their own set of the four elements. They're inextricably conjoined with their own set of the four elements, which is the basis of the Buddhist view of the universe, you know. This physical world is made of the four elements. So as Lama Zopa says in the Kala Chakra Tantra, they describe how the intimate relationship between the internal and external energies. Internal is the mind, external is the elements. So when the mind is deluded and polluted over lives and lives, it pollutes the wind energies, which is what sickness is. So conversely, if your mind begins to become purified and you practice virtue, you're literally purifying your wind energies, which means you purify your body, which produces future happiness of health. But even just now, by purifying your mind, you purify the wind, so your breath becomes like healing. You know? You blow on people. Incredibly powerful. You say mantra and you blow, you know? Or you spit. One more story with Lama Yeshe. When I was in London being his attendant for a few days, and I was in a neurotic state at that point. Well, I was in a neurotic state. Whatever, lots of dramas were happening, and I was having a panic attack about things, and I was his attendant, and he was really pushing me around because he's a very powerful Lama, and so he's showing me my mind every second, you know, showing me my idiot mind. So anyway, I had to go do a job for him with one of my friends, Harvey. We were working together, and I went to this cafe, and I slammed into a glass door. So I got concussion, you know, blood coming. I remember I got a taxi back to where Lama was staying, and the taxi driver was a boxer. Explaining what to put my head back and do this and that. And I was out of my head, you know, I had concussion, right? So I remember we had to go out to dinner that night with Lama, a bunch of us. And I don't know, whatever, I can't remember what happened, but I was in a dreadful state mentally. And I remember I brought Lama home, I was his attendant, brought him to his hotel, and he was lying there, and I took him to his room, and I was moaning about myself. I'm so sorry, Lama, because I think I had a fight with somebody at the dinner. I can't remember what it was. But I said, Lama, I'm so sorry, I got concussion today, I ran into a door, you know. So he said, come here. He was lying down there, and I came. He said, kneel down. I knelt down. He said, close your eyes. So I closed my eyes, and he spat on me. Well, I'd never heard of spitting in all my life, you know. I got the surprise of my life, but I felt, and he laughed and laughed. He said, oh, that's what we do in Tibet. And I felt so honoured. Oh, wow, Lama spat on me, you know. So it's supposed to heal me, isn't it? I suppose it did. I don't know, I don't remember. But I was so proud. Oh, Lama spat on me. I closed my eyes. I would have got a shock if I hadn't closed my eyes, wouldn't I? Ducked, you know. Very funny. Anyway, Lama Zopa spitting and blowing like his head, you know, blowing. And you can do it. You say mantra. You see creatures. You see dead creatures, little creatures, live ones. Say a mantra, blow on them. If you're feeling miserable one day, you do the dishes, just Om Tare Tare Ture Saha, you know. These mantras are very powerful. Well, you don't have to believe it, but I have confidence that they are. And the fact is, you say, well, they're Sanskrit, I don't understand it. Well, you don't have to understand it, you know what it means. It means power. Tara, the essence of Tara is power, action. Power, compassion, action.
Does it matter how many times you say it?
No, well, obviously the more the better. You know?
Is there a minimum?
No. One is the minimum. Billion is the maximum. It doesn't matter.
10,000 users.
There you go. So, you know, there's like, and all they're sort of also like medicines, you know. These are like medicines. You need a bit of compassion one day, so you do the compassion mantra. You need a bit of power one day, you're feeling depressed and hopeless, do Tara. You need a bit of kind of power, there's these Rothel mantras. You need to purify, you do this one. You know, they're all kind of like little medicines, because these different techniques are that. These Buddhas, it looks like religion, you know, but it's just a visual manifestation of the different qualities we're trying to cultivate. So you choose one today, one to this one, depending on what you need, you know. They're very helpful. So if you like, I can give you what they call the oral transmission of these, a few mantras, okay, if you'd like them. If you'd like to repeat them after me, you're very welcome. I'll just do 3 times. I'll do the compassion mantra. Just if you want to repeat after me, repeat after me. And I can send audio files of these to anybody who wants them, okay? So you can get used to them. Or you can find them on YouTube. A million variations. So this is the compassion mantra, very short. Om. Mani. Padme. Hum. Om. Mani. Padme. Hum. Om. Mani. Padme. Hum. And I'll sing it. It's a lovely tune. Let's sing it one time. Different tunes. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. Okay, then there's Tara. Om. Tare. Tutare. Ture. Swaha. Om. Tare. Tutare. Ture. Swaha. Om. Tare. Tutare. Ture. Swaha. And we sang that before. And now there's another one, there's the Buddha's mantra, just general Mr. Buddha, you know. It's Tayata. Do you want it? Tayata. Om. Mune Mune. Maha. Munaya. Swaha. Tayata. Om. Mune Mune. Maha. Munaya. Swaha. Tayata. Om. Mune Mune. Maha. Munaya. Swaha. Anybody who wants, you email me, get my email from Tsiki, you email me, ask me for them, I'll send you audio file and words, okay, just so you have it. Then there's the Medicine Buddha, which is a great one. It's like a classic. They're all good for everything, but you use them for different means. So often Medicine Buddha, as the word implies, is really doctors and Tibetan doctors and people who do healing stuff, they love Medicine Buddha. So, Tayata, Om, Bekanze, Bekanze, Maha, Bekanze, Bekanze, Ranza, Samungate, Svaha, Tayata, Om, Bekanze, Bekanze, Maha, Bekanze, Bekanze, Ranza, Samungate, Svaha, Tayata, Om, Bekanze, Bekanze, Maha, Bekanze, Ranza, Samungate, Svaha. Yeah. That one you just chant, you know. Tayata Om Bekanze, Bekanze, Maha Bekanze, Ranza, Samungate, Svaha, Tayata Om Bekanze, Bekanze, Maha Bekanze. Like that, you sort of kind of riff on it, you know, like a bit like rap. No tune. That's how they do. They either have tunes or they have rap, you know, the way they do it. It's really, they do. You'll hear it. It's very interesting. So then, what else is there? Manjushri, wisdom. Om, Ra, Pa, Sa, Na, Ji. Om, Ra, Pa, Sa, Na, Ji. Om, Ra, Pa, Sa, Na, Ji. And this is the one you hear all in the monasteries, little boys and girls, little monks going to the puja. This is one they say all the time. And then when you finish it, you visualize at your heart, often each of these mantras you get the essence of it. It's called the seed syllable. So Tara, the essence of it is Tam. For Manjushri, it's D, the last syllable. So you visualize it at your heart. So you do the mantra, Om Mani Padme, and then you go like this. Om Mani Padme, for as long as you can. And then you swallow and you imagine smashing your ignorance at your heart. It's very tasty. You hear them all singing. Om Mani Padme, D. Sounds like sharp. Okay. There's wisdom, compassion, power, healing, and Buddha. That'll do. Okay. What else? Well, it's only 4:30. Hours to go. Huh?
Tea break. What's that?
TD break, PP break, tea break. It's true. Tea break. Okay, go on, tea break.
For half an hour.
Go on, have half an hour tea break. Then we can finish with whatever
Thank
you
you.
decide to do. But you get my email from Siki if you want. Anybody wants to ask me a question and moan and complain, you're very welcome. I'll answer anybody.